Nazreen says surprisingly I'm NKT lagging. Switzerly says please take a seat. Switzerly says empty hand. Nazreen says OPP's tie. Switzerly says we are all gathered around to mourn the loss of Sage. Switzerly says our dear friend. Switzerly says who has been gone for quite some time. Switzerly says people, and bread. Switzerly says are all here to express our deepest gratitude. Switzerly says for being able to spend our time with her while we could. Switzerly says since we are here. Switzerly says would you like to make a speech, Hatsune Miku? Nazreen says I don't plan on doing a speech per honor. Switzerly says you're the only one who showed up so. Nazreen says Nazreen says wait I'm starting to lag Nazreen says Sage was a kind, funny, and cool admin and person in our server. Nazreen says even though she wasn't here all the time, her place in this server will forever be in OU hearts. Switzerly says tears up asterisk. Nazreen says her existence alone was one that we won't overlook, and the work she has done for our server won't ever be taken for granted. Nazreen says it's sad that she isn't with us anymore, but as we stand here, we shall forever mark her place in this world. Nazreen says yeah that's it. Switzerly says I shed a tear. Switzerly says and now our final representative will make a speech. Switzerly says Switzerly says it's just so beautiful. Nazreen says such a heartwarming and emotional speech. Switzerly says may she rest in peace. Nazreen says dove emoji asterisk. Switzerly says and now a moment of silence for our fallen comrade. Switzerly says you know. Nazreen says yeah. Switzerly says it's kinda messed up that the others didn't show you. Switzerly says up. Nazreen says yeah. Switzerly says like do they even care? Nazreen says such a messed up world we live in. Switzerly says truly. Switzerly says well. Switzerly says this is goodbye friend. Nazreen says I shall offer this diamond. Switzerly says do you wanna know how much I'm mowing Miku? Nazreen says yes. Unknown or incomplete command. See below for error. HH here. Switzerly says AHH. Switzerly says Sage is biting me. Switzerly says well since she's dead. Switzerly says yoink. Nazreen says hey. Switzerly says lol. Switzerly says get cremated idiot. Switzerly says yes. Switzerly says you truly have a way with your words, bread. Nazreen says yes. Switzerly says I offer her this. Nazreen says I'm cooked. Nazreen says my mom is asleep across from me and she's facing directly at me. Switzerly says that's crazy. Nazreen was slain by Switzerly. Switzerly says oh. Switzerly says so Miku. Switzerly says air. Nazreen says Nazreen says WTH. Nazreen says yo I actually have good FPS RN crazy. Switzerly says wow. Switzerly says bye. Nazreen says B. Nazreen left the game. Switzerly says 07.